What's good, everybody? It's your boy Courtlandt Griffin bringing y'all another halftime show. Hey, this is a special one for me. This is, of course, episode 7. Also have two very special guests, man, with me. 2/3 of the super trio from Sports After Dark. None other than my man's Mark Gunnels coming in hot. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Mr. Mark.
Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?
Man, it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah,
And
go ahead.
I know you good, boss. And then Ashley calls him her shooter. You know what I'm saying? My guy, none other than Young Heavy.
Oh, what's going on with y'all, man? What's going on
Nothing.
with y'all?
It's good being in here with y'all, buddy. So man, of course, what we do here at the halftime show, I can't bring on guests without y'all introducing yourselves and y'all giving y'all own intro as well. So tell them a little bit about yourself. We're gonna start with Mark first.
Yeah, so Mark Gunnels, just a kid from Kansas City, you know what I'm saying? I live in LA right now. I'm working on Lakers Nation. I do stuff for Arrowhead Pride. Obviously, I'm 1/3 of Sports After Dark, Twitter Spaces, Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays with a young heavy here, Ashley Baker. So yeah, man, I give a lot of takes. People say it's controversial, but I just do my thing, man.
For sure, for sure. And then go ahead with your bad self, man. Repping the 49ers, man. Young Heavy.
You know what's going on, but I'm out of Philadelphia with it. I'm up and coming in this sports media thing. I'm the other one of the co-hosts of Sports After Dark. I don't have any outlandish takes. I just call a spade when it comes to sports. I just try to give an unbiased opinion all the time. I'll just say that.
Man, for sure, for sure. And it's good to have y'all on, man. So what we do here, man, with the halftime show is we get started with this thing we call the halftime adjustments, man. I mean, that's kind of our version of quick hits. So first things first, it's training camp and things are getting testy out there. Players are getting into the swing of things. And so far, man, the Patriots and the Panthers, man, they out there they out there they out there getting a WWE on. So according to reports, the Patriots and the Panthers got into a brawl. It was a pretty big scrum. Supposedly Christian McCaffrey got knocked to the ground. Hopefully no injuries or no ramifications for him. But unfortunately there was a fan that was injured during the scuffle. What is y'all take on that? Do y'all think that this is going to interfere with joint practices in the future? Do y'all think they're going to maybe put a little bit more of a buffer between the fans and the players, or maybe because I know they stopped contact through certain days for practices for teams. Do y'all think they're going to cut back on the contact for the joint practices as well?
I'll start first. So first of all, I'm not really a big fan of joint practices. I really never have been. Maybe it's because my coach Andy Reid is not really a big fan of it as well, because he actually plays his starters in the preseason. That's like a thing that he does. It's a real old school mentality. I know a lot of guys like Sean McVay, guys like that, they don't play their starters at all. So I think in the joint practices, I know they have referees there and stuff, but it's not as organized as a real setting of a game. Obviously, you're not in a real stadium. Everything's kind of out in the open. You got the fans really close to the players and stuff like that. So I wouldn't be surprised if they restricted in the future based on what we're seeing with the Panthers and Patriots, because you don't want guys to get hurt, especially in a fight, something that's not supposed to happen at all. So it'll be interesting to see how they move forward with it, but I'm not really a big fan of joint practices.
What about you?
When it comes to me with the joint practices, I think they're pretty cool. I feel like coaches, I've heard of a lot of coaches say that they feel like they get more work done in the joint practices than they do the preseason games. So, I mean, I don't have a problem with it. I understand what Mark is saying. Like, you want everybody to get through healthy. I know the scrimmages could definitely put people in a bad position where injuries can definitely occur. So I can understand that. Now, I don't even know how the fan even got involved in this, where a fan could get injured.
Yeah, so the video that I seen, the scrum had spilled over into the sideline where the fans were. So that's why I was asking, because I'm gonna let you finish, Young Heavy. That's why I was wondering, with the regulations that they put in place with contact for practices for like, padded only a certain amount of days of padded practices will only be a certain amount of time because I know being a former athlete, I know during the summer you're hot, you finally get to do some contact. Guys are testing other guys, young guys, veterans are, young guys are trying to make a name for themselves. As a freshman, I used to go in, I went in, I'll never forget, it was a junior, he was a starter, and I went in low on him on a chop block. And he let me know, like, bro, like, yo, hold up, like, what are you doing? Like, the coaches let me know, like, yo, like, this ain't that. I know you trying to, get a spot on the team or whatever, or make a name for yourself, but you don't go low on a player doing practices. And I know sometimes rookies can, they get a little testy, younger guys get a little testy out there, and veterans don't really like that too much. So it just makes me wonder, are they going to start regulating more of the joint practices to be a little more structured? Like Mark said, I know there's not a lot of structure there because it's still preseason practices. It's still practices. And so they leave a lot of that to the coaching staffs.
Yeah, I think they should. If a fan got anywhere near that, you got to move fans like way out the way, like
right
in the stadium, or maybe you might just not have to have no fans there at all. Like, I don't think a fan should ever get in the mix of that. I understand, it's heated. You got grown men, you got egos, you know how that go when it comes to football. It's a grind for them. And you got, like you said, you got rookies and you got people trying to make the team. So there's a lot going into that. However, I don't think you should be fighting because once at the end of the day, y'all getting paid to do something that y'all love to do. So I don't think it should ever go that far.
Right. For me, I just, like I said, to me, I always look at the hindsight is 2020. You know what I'm saying? You start to look at things, and the Titans have had joint practices now, I think the last 2 years with the Bucks. I think yesterday they said that, it was either today or yesterday, Jeffrey Simmons got into a little bit of a tussle with an offensive lineman, I believe. Wasn't nothing too bad. I think they broke it up, kind of, separated it pretty quick. But last year, Antonio Brown got into a scuffle with a DB, and it came to fists, it came to blows. And NFL players, guys, grown men, even with regular grown men on the street, you know what I'm saying? You hit a man in the right place in the right time, it could break something, and that costs a man a couple $1 million in a couple of weeks on the season. We've seen guys with broke jaws and missing a whole year. So you don't want that. So that just, to me, it just it'd be interesting to see in the league meetings next year, kind of how they regulate that. But speaking of guys in off seasons, man. The LA Chargers, man, just paid Derwin James 4 years. I think it was $76.4 million over the span of 4 years. Do y'all feel like he deserved that? Do y'all feel like that was a little bit of an overreach given his injury history, or is he completely worth it knowing that he's an all-pro talent and probably one of the best young safeties in the NFL right now?
You can take that first.
Well, we're in an era where you're going to get paid basically regardless. It felt like they had to pay him because if you didn't pay him, he was going to go somewhere else. Do I feel like he's done enough to be the highest paid? Because I believe he's the highest paid safety now, right?
I believe so. I think Kevin Byard was, and now I think he overtakes him.
Okay, now I feel like, prime example, Kevin Byard has done more than he has to this point to be the highest paid safety. Now they just saying like, all right, Durham, we got to pay you because you are a great player. However, I feel like players are just taking advantage of, the market going up all the time. So it's like, all right, I got to get my bag. Don't get me wrong, get your money at the end of the day. But I do always feel like at the same token that you should put in a little bit more work before you want to be the highest paid player in whatever position you are at.
For sure. What about you, Mark?
Yeah, I think it was a little bit of an overreach, but kind of like what Young said, you're in a position where, the market is the market, right? And he's the next guy up. And obviously we know his talent. He has the talent to be the best safety in the league. It's just a matter of him staying healthy at this point for a consistent seasons, right? Like he's had a lot of knick-knack injuries and missed a full season and things of that nature, right? But he's still really young. He's only like 25, 26 years old. So when you pay a guy that type of deal, you're banking on what he's going to do in the future. It's not really about what you've done in the past. So I think they're banking on his health to be good moving forward to where in maybe 2 or 3 years, that contract actually looks like a bargain because it's going to be another guy after him next year. You know,
Right.
Jesse Bates is on the clock right now. So,
For sure.
you know, they have to do it. They have to do it.
For me, this because it's different. Every league is different, right? We see baseball players, of course, getting massive contracts, and that's my sport. Love baseball, play baseball, love it. If I had to choose a sport, I'm playing baseball. It's not a lot of contact, you know what I'm saying? Like getting paid all that money, guaranteed contracts. You know what I mean? Bobby Bonilla, I think, just got off the Mets books, like I think last year, or this was his last year or second to last year ever getting paid. And he ain't playing. Crazy. He ain't played in He ain't played in years. But when you look at the NFL, he's playing a position and his style of play. It reminds me of a bigger Bob Sanders, and not Bob. Yeah, was it Bob Sanders? No, not Bob Sanders. Bob Sanders for the Colts. Yeah. I keep thinking Barry Sanders, Bob Sanders, but Bob Sanders for the Colts. Bob Sanders was a very physical dude who could cover in space, hit like a ton of bricks. He was 5'9", like 220, but he couldn't stay on the field. He just couldn't stay healthy. But was one of the best. Like at his peak, he was like one of the top 3 or 4 safeties in the league, arguably, to play his position. Derwin James is that. He's that kind of missile, you know what I'm saying, bull in the china shop. You know, he gonna come up and he gonna make the hit. He can play in space, but it seems like there's always a nagging injury. There's always something that shortens his season. And to me, if I'm the Chargers, I'm looking at, I just paid J.C. Jackson, you know, traded for J.C. Jackson to come play for us. You got Khalil Mack. You go and you still got Nick Bosa. No, Joey. Got Joey Bosa. Got Joey Bosa. I'm sorry. No. I don't want to disrespect your 49ers, man. Joey Bosa. You got Joey Bosa. And then you add a guy like on the back end, like Derwin James, who has that kind of ability, and you just makes you wonder when he's not healthy. I've seen that Chargers defense, they kind of go as he goes. Even with all that talent, they kind of go as he goes. And when he's not there, it seems like they kind of crumble, under that. So I want to see him get. I'm glad he got paid. Of course, like you said, guys, the cap is constantly going up, definitely with TV contracts and promotions and deals and endorsements, you know, that the NFL is continually accruing, definitely with the Amazon money, the Disney money, and all that stuff coming in. So yes, of course, guys are going to take advantage of that, and I'm all for get your money. It just makes me wonder if he has this rash of injuries continuing, will this come back to bite LA? You know what I'm saying? Or like Mark said, if he stays healthy, now this looks like a bargain when a guy comes in and probably gets $100 million. You know what I'm saying? Like he said, a Jesse Bates, or who's my man for the Broncos?
Justin Simmons?
Justin Simmons. Yeah, like when he come along, and those two dudes are the next two up. And I don't think they're as good talent-wise as Derwin James, but they're the next guys to get paid. And of course, as you know, when one guy reset the market, another guy's going to want that or more. And then somebody will either have to match or overtake. So it's big bank tank, little bank. That's always the game, the name of the game. Definitely with the way money is going, and even in the NBA and any sport right now, that's how it is. So I just wanted to get y'all opinion on that. Last but not least, man, we're going down to Miami. Let's talk about your boy, man. Tua down there floundering. 3 interceptions in practice. Is this signs of more to come for him, or do you think this is just a hiccup of trying to gain chemistry with the new wide receivers and weapons down there?
Yeah, so I don't take too much stock in practice numbers and stuff like that. I mean, I remember when Mahomes was practicing before his first year starting, he threw like 5 picks in a practice. Everybody was like, oh my God, he's going to throw so many picks. And he only threw like 10 picks that season. And with Tua, I think he's just, this is the time to get those mistakes out. You're trying out new stuff. You're trying to see what you can get away with, what you can't get away with. Obviously, he has a new shiny toy in Tyreek Hill. So he's trying to see, get the chemistry, trying to get the timing down with him. Obviously, a new system as well. So it's a lot of newness down there in Miami. So I don't take too much stock into it. Now, I'm not the biggest Tua fan. I don't think he's really that talented. But I do believe in that system with Mike McDaniels coming from San Francisco. I think it's going to be similar to how Kyle Shanahan with Jimmy G made things a lot easier for him. Set up the easy throws. They're going to have a running game, that zone scheme, the outside running. You got Waddle, you got Hill. You can use them kind of somewhat in a Debo role a little bit. You don't want to do too much of that. But, you still got Cedric Wilson as the third receiver. So they have weapons there for sure. The main question is going to be, how will the offensive line hold up? Because Tua's not a guy, he's not that athletic. I mean, he can move a little bit, don't get me wrong, but he's not one of those guys who's going to just extend plays he'd rather stay in the pocket, 1-2 quick drops and get the ball out quick. So I think they'll be fine though.
Yeah, just to piggyback on a lot of what Mark said, like he said, I don't put too much stock into the practice stats. You know what I mean? Like you said, that's the time for you to make those errors because you don't know if he's making those interceptions on trying stuff that he wouldn't try in a game, trying to complete throws that he wouldn't try in a game. So it's like he threw 3 interceptions in practice. All right, cool. That could either be showing he could be going against a great defense too. You know what I'm saying? Like that happens. Stuff like that happens. Now, I also agree with that as well. Like Mike McDaniel is definitely going to use him a lot. Like to me, I call it Tua Jimmy G 2.0. He's going to be Jimmy G with a left arm, with a left hand. He's not going to be stretching the ball down the field. There's going to be a lot of the screen passes, a lot of intermediate routes, outside the numbers, stuff like that. So I feel like the Dolphins, they'll have a pretty solid year. I agree with what Mark says. I'm not sold on Tua, but however, I feel like Mike McDaniel will do enough to put him in a position where he could succeed. Now, the jury is still out there is if he will or if he won't succeed. We'll have to still see that.
Right. In my opinion, man, I'm a person that does put a little bit of stock in practice. And for the simple fact of when you're a guy who isn't proven. Mahomes, they were high on Mahomes even when he wasn't playing, right? The difference between that was Mahomes had to come in and build some chemistry. This is a guy in Tua who you've been the starter now for, I think, the better part of 3 seasons now. I think half of his rookie season, then last year, and then last year, I think the year before that and last year. The accuracy has never been an issue for him. Even at Alabama, everybody said, man, this kid can really throw a beam. You know what I'm saying? He puts it on the rope to players. There's always been the arm strength, though. And it just makes me wonder with these guys, these speedsters on the outside, the Jalen Waddles, the Tyreek Hills, the Cedric Wilsons, the Raheem Mosterts. Is it though? Because I didn't see the interception, so I don't know. This is just me being a journalist and kind of inferring from reports. Were these underthrows trying to get it out there to those players? Were these timing issues? What was it? And again, we don't know. This is speculation. We don't know until he hits the field week 1 or we see this happen in a game. But it just makes me wonder with Tua's track record. It just doesn't look good when you say 3 interceptions in a practice. You know what I mean? If it's against your team, that I never put that too much. Like if they said Trey Lance, right? Let's say going against the 49ers defense, that's his team. They know exactly what he's gonna do. He know what they gonna do. He gonna get the best of them one game or one practice. They might get the best of him for one practice. But when you're going against in joint practices, like I think Ryan Tannehill threw an interception the other day against the Bucs defense. That's scary to me because it's like, you know what I'm saying? It's a different defense. They don't know what you're going to do. So now it's on you because now you're trying to go against them. And I know it's vanilla and it's not the same route concepts, but it just makes me wonder with Tua, is this something more to come? Is this signs of more to come? But, we don't know. It's always, it's always this time of year is always fun because you get to actually see and actually kind of do your job and kind of, pick apart certain things. But we don't know until we get there. But again, man, y'all, that was our quick hits, man. Our halftime adjustments. Again, man, I'm joined by Mark Donalds and Young Heavy of Sports After Dark, man. I appreciate y'all brothers for even following through here, bro. Like I tried to get Mark on a couple weeks ago. Man, got a whole family. He wanted to go play dad and stuff. And
hey, he a busy man, man.
Yeah, it's hard to get him. But I had Ashley on. You know what I'm saying? I had to get y'all brothers on here, man. But we stand with the quarterback position, man. We're going into our main topics. As we know with quarterbacks, it's the premier position of the sport. It's the poster boys. We know how that goes and what that goes with. But then when we look at this position, it's always some guys that got to either look on their shoulders. Some guys are being brought in from other teams. Guys are changing teams, or guys are coming in and having to have new weapons and adjust to that. But there's always guys on that proverbial hot seat. So when we talk about these guys, man. When we looking at these guys, what quarterbacks would y'all say are on the hot seat going into the season?
How many do you want me to name?
Yeah, man, whichever ones you. Hey, leave. Hey, just leave some food on the plate for me. That's all I'm asking.
All right, I'll name one from each conference. So I think it's on the hottest in each conference. I think in the NFC, I think it's easy. I think it's definitely Daniel Jones. Okay. I mean, I don't think anybody's seeking to be more hotter than Daniel Jones right now. I mean, they're already talking about drafting somebody else for next year. Obviously, they got Tyrod Taylor there as a backup who is really, really solid. So, I mean, if they get off to like a slow start, maybe they just throw somebody else in there. You never know. But, yeah, I mean, for him, and it's kind of unfair to be objective here because they've had a lot of injuries, especially last year. Saquon Barkley hasn't been able to stay healthy. Obviously, they got Kenny Golladay. Their offensive line has been in shambles. But I will say this. They did get Brian Dable from Buffalo, and a lot of people give him credit for fixing Josh Allen. So we'll see, because I'm not saying it'll be Josh Allen, but if you remember, after Josh Allen's first 2 years, they were saying he was a bust. People were really low on Josh Allen, just like they are on Daniel Jones right now. He threw like 55% of his completion or something like that. It was awful. But in that year 3, obviously they got Stephon Diggs too, though. That helped a lot. And then he looked like a top 5 quarterback. So we'll see, because they do have some weapons there. If they can stay healthy, you got Kadarius Toney, Kenny Golladay, like I said. You got Saquon Barkley. So, I mean, if they can stay healthy and he can look like an adequate quarterback, maybe they stick around with him. But his seat is definitely hot this year. In the AFC, I mean, I got to go back to Tua. I mean, that guy too. He's on the hot seat too. Right?
He's definitely on the hot seat too.
He's on the hot seat too. But I'm gonna say Tua right now, just because the weapons they brought in. Like you brought in Tyreek Hill. Like you mentioned before, he's been the starter for a couple years now. You got Cedric Wilson as your third option. You got Jalen Waddle. You got a system that's very, very friendly for quarterbacks, as we saw with Jimmy G. So he has to succeed this year because they do have an opportunity to make a splash next offseason. So I'm going to go with Daniel Jones in the NFC and Tua in the AFC, but Ryan Tannehill is right behind him.
Yeah, so I'll do the same thing as Mark. In NFC, I'm going to go with Jalen Hurts. I feel like Jalen Hurts is definitely on the hot seat. I feel like they're looking at it now like, all right, we got you some weapons. You can't use that. Well, we had to use the run game more because you really didn't have nobody to throw the ball to. Now that you have A.J. Brown, they put some pieces on defense to also get you the ball back to have more opportunities to score. I feel like this is the season where if the Eagles don't at least make it to the divisional round or the NFC Championship, they're going to be looking for another quarterback. Because keep in mind, they got 2 first-round picks in next year's draft. They can easily trade up to try to get one of them quarterbacks with C.J. Stroud and the guy from Alabama. Can't remember his name right now. Bryce Young. So I feel like Tua is definitely on the hot seat because you got to make something happen this year, bro. They're gonna be looking the other way. And Mark said the other guy was gonna say Tua because his rookie year they had to split his rookie year with Ryan Fitzpatrick. They was like, we're gonna bring you in. You're not helping us win no games. We're gonna bring Ryan back in. Like they was playing musical chairs this whole rookie year. And then last year he was hurt. Brissett had to come back in. He came back in and they went on a little run near the end of the season. So I feel like the same with Tua is like, all right, you got the weapons you got now. You got to make some noise. The Dolphins got to at least make the playoffs. I feel like for them to give Tua another year. And that's my 2.
For me, man, I gotta go with Ryan Tannehill. I think he's on the hot seat. It's been rumblings that he may not even be back next year, and I think that's scary for any quarterback. But it's always bad when the team goes and drafts a guy at your position. Definitely a guy who was as highly touted coming out of Liberty as a Malik Willis. When you look at that, when you say that, when you see that, you're like, he's the starter and he's been there. But I've said this before, and I think Mark has heard me say it. I think Young Heavy's heard me say it in Sports After Dark and in other places. We're in a situation like with Alex Smith and Patrick Mahomes, in my opinion. Not saying the talent level. I'm just saying the situation. Alex Smith came there, I think, when he came to the Chiefs. He came from the 49ers, and everybody was like, well, we don't know. He may be washed. We don't know if he even has it, you know what I'm saying, like that anymore. He comes to the Chiefs, and it was an explosion of offense. They were winning games. I think they were like 10, 11, and like 12 wins. You know what I mean? Like, they were between like the 3rd and 1 seed for a couple of years there. They lost to Tennessee. I think they lost Tennessee, and then Patrick Mahomes gets drafted the next year, and it was completely different. You know what I'm saying? Like Patrick Mahomes comes in immediately MVP, 50-10, 5,000 yards, and wins. I think they won a Super Bowl that year, right?
No, they won the second year.
The second year. Okay, so I think AFC Championship game.
Lost to the Patriots in the AFC Championship game.
AFC Championship game.
That D Ford offsides.
That was crazy.
Don't remind me.
But that was crazy. But that's what I'm saying. So to me, with Malik Willis, and from what I've understood with him being, they said he's advanced very well. Like he's progressed super well, and even seeing the videos from when he was first there at rookie camps to now, he looks like a completely different quarterback. But I think Ryan Tannehill's on that hot seat. For me, another guy that's on the hot seat at the quarterback position, I think it's Kirk Cousins, man. And a lot of people are going to question that and be like, how can you say that? He doesn't have anybody to replace him. The like I said last night, you know what I'm saying? And there's a lot of rosters in the NFL right now where a lot of teams are either the quarterback is holding them back or they're a quarterback short of being a playoff contender or a championship contender. I think Minnesota, it's Kirk Cousins holding them back. I just think they need that guy who can be special. And not saying that Kirk Cousins ain't special. I just think Kirk Cousins would be better fit with a team that needs a quarterback that can manage the game. But I think Minnesota has the kind of roster where they need a guy who can affect the game, like a Lamar Jackson, who does it in Baltimore. You know what I'm saying? Like that roster, you look around, you're like, man, he ain't got nobody to throw to. He got this, he ain't got that. There's always injured, but he can affect the game in a different way to where he can win you a game. He ain't gonna lose you the game all the time, but he gonna win you the game more often than not. I don't see that with Kirk Cousins, and I think Kirk Cousins is on the hot seat. I think next year with this crop of quarterbacks, I think those two, like you said, those two top names, C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young, it's gonna be some teams that's gonna be competing for those two names, and I think Minnesota will be one of those. But yeah, man, like it's always some quarterbacks on the hot seat, y'all, and that's a topic that a lot of people we can go on all night about quarterbacks on the hot seat, believe me. But then who finds themselves on a different roster of the team, of the guys that may be on the hot seat, may not be on the hot seat? Who finds themselves on a different roster this year or next year?
We talking about all the quarterbacks?
Not of any quarterback. It doesn't even matter. Who finds themselves playing in a different jersey either this year as a trade acquisition or next year as a free agent or a trade acquisition?
Well, I'm gonna say Jimmy Garoppolo. He's gonna be in a different jersey this year. He's gonna get traded to a different team. But if I had to go next year, I'm gonna say Mitchell Trubisky because I honestly don't think Mitch is going to finish this season out. I feel like Kenny Pickett's going to end up being their starting quarterback, and they're going to move on. I feel like he's just going to be the bridge for this year, and I feel like Kenny Pickett's going to end up being their starter as the future goes on. So that's what I'm going with.
This is a tough one, man. This is a real tough one. I'm going to have to say probably Daniel Jones, man. I'm going to Daniel Jones. I just think they're for sure going to finish last in that division. I mean, you got the Cowboys, the Commanders, the Eagles. I don't think he's going to do enough to warrant staying on that roster. And maybe he can go on another team. I don't know, maybe like Seattle or something like that, you know, depending on their situation. And see what happens there. But I think he's a likely candidate to be gone after this season.
I'm gonna throw him up. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna throw him up under the bus. I think Ryan Tannehill gonna be gone next year. Man. I think he's honestly, it could be this year.
You a Titans fan, man? Like,
hey, but I gotta keep it real, man. You understand? I gotta keep it honest, dude.
He has a journalist hat on right now.
Yeah.
Man, I gotta keep it. No, I'm an honest Titans fan, bro. I'm not a delusional Titans fan. I'm way too old for that. You know what I'm saying? I've been a Titans fan for the majority of my life, and I've seen us be up, I've seen us be down, and I love my team. I loved Ryan Tannehill when we first was like made that run. I was like, oh man, okay, Ryan Tannehill might be that dude, and I was pounding the table. It hasn't been a top 10 quarterback, but it's sad, man. When we've seen guys like Matt Hasselbeck and people, bash you can bash him for all you. Man, was one of the best quarterbacks we had. Kerry Collins was one of the best quarterbacks we had. Nobody topples the GOAT, in my opinion, is Steve McNair, right? But I've seen this team go from having a guy like a Steve McNair to having a Vince Young to now being in quarterback purgatory, right, with Zach Mettenberger, Jake Locker, and a lot. And now you come along, you get this guy who can't win you a playoff game. It's like, no matter what we put around him, you can't win us a playoff game. And I just think we got to move on from him. And there's nothing against Ryan Tannehill. Of course, he's reinvigorated his career. He's probably got to put some people that probably got some faith in him. I just don't see it being here in Tennessee. I think we were a team that helped him out. He helped us out. You know what I'm saying? Now we got to kind of move on. And I don't know where he lands. I have a clue. I have an inkling, but I don't want to let that out right now.
Okay.
So
you sound like us with Jimmy G, man.
Hey, but you know what though? Is honestly, y'all team. Jimmy G has had more success with his mediocrity than Ryan Tannehill. Like, and it's just, I mean, the real is the real. But speaking of guys who are top tens or whatever, or you know what I'm saying, or guys that are having up and down years, man, we gotta talk about guys who are on the rise and guys who are gonna have a downfall. What do y'all think, or what do you guys say? Who do you guys think are going to have those up years? Who you guys think are going to have an uptick in that trending up situation where they're going to have an uptick in the stats, or maybe just an uptick in their standing in the NFL?
I think Jalen Hurts, actually. I'm really high on him this year. I think he's a hardworking guy. We know that he's a guy of high character. He's a great leader. I could tell the Eagles, they really rally around him. I saw a report the other day saying they're going to fight for him no matter what. So they fully buy into him as a character, a person. And I think his work ethic, I think he got embarrassed last year in that playoff game. I think he heard all the noise. Now you bring in the A.J. Brown, who you're familiar with, obviously. You still got Devontae Smith. You got Goddard at tight end and have a really good offensive line. I think their situation is really good for him to succeed this year. And I know it's just preseason, but he looked really good in that first game. Everything I'm hearing from camp, look like he's an improved passer. His mechanics are different now. So I really think he's going to surprise people, man. I think people are really too low on him. I mean, they still make the playoffs. I mean, they act like they were just a terrible team last year. So I really believe in him and his work ethic, and I think he's going to improve a lot this year.
Well, you see the hat. So the person I'm picking is Brandon Ayuk. I feel like Brandon Ayuk is going to have a breakout year. Last year, he had 852 yards and 6 touchdowns, and he was in the doghouse the first half of the season. He didn't even get. When he hurt,
didn't he miss a couple of games last year?
No, Ayuk played every game, but he was in the doghouse. Kyle liked his receivers to block, and Ayuk had to get the memo that if you want the ball, you got to block. So the first half of the season, he wasn't getting the ball, and he still almost had 1,000 yards with a quarterback that can't throw the ball down the field and only can throw the ball in the middle of the field. I feel like with Trey Lance, now we have a quarterback that can stretch the field. I feel like you're going to see a big year out of him. And of course, because him and Trey Lance been working out a lot in the offseason too. So, like, you can see that rapport is taking over in the training camp. So I feel like Brandon Ayuk is going to have a big year.
I think it's easy to go with a couple of names, right, that you can throw out there when you talk about guys who are having a breakout year. But I'm going to go with a guy who's already considered one of the best at his position. I got to go with my man's dang, I can't think of his name. His name just skipped my mind just that quick. Minnesota Vikings running back, Dalvin Cook.
Dalvin Cook, okay.
Dalvin Cook. I think with that team, with Adam Thielen being a little longer in the tooth, I think, his production went down last year. Jay Jettis, of course, we know Jay Jettis is one of the top 10 wide receivers in the game. But I think now they're going to lean on him a little bit more. And they said Dalvin Cook is coming in some of the best shape that they've ever seen him in. He looks motivated. He sounds motivated. He's been another guy who's had nagging injuries throughout his career, and I think last year he was a little bit more healthy. Last year, I think he gets his legs back up under him. I think he comes in motivated, and that division has got the gap has gotten. I think the gap gets a little bit tighter now. I don't think the gap is just the Green Bay Packers and everybody else duking it out for number 2. I think that gap has kind of gotten a little shorter between those teams. I've been a big proponent of the Lions being competitive this year. I didn't say winning, say competitive. Let me get that out there. Competitive and winning are two different things.
Definitely are two different things.
Yeah. The Bears, I think the Bears are competitive. I think Justin Fields is should catch on this year, whereas last year he didn't have much. I think he's going to be a little bit better. Don't think he's going to break out. I just think he's going to just get a little bit better. But I think Dalvin Cook solidifies himself as that, legit top 3, top 4 guy. in the NFL. Not just a top 10 guy, but that legit, like, hey, he's an elite of the elite guy. Because the running backs they were saying for a couple of years, remember, like, running back is a devalued position. Don't nobody put value in running backs anymore. And it's become more and more evident that you need a running back in this league. And I think Dalvin Cook is one of those guys who comes out, I think, 1,500 to maybe between 1,700 yards and 12 plus for him.
Okay.
But we can't talk about ups without talking about down years. That's something that you never wish on a guy, but it happens every year. We see guys decline in production. We see guys decline in standing in the NFL, and some ends up with some guys being traded, some guys being, cut. But who do you guys see trending down this year in this 2022-2023 season?
I'm gonna say this might be an easy one because he kind of has to go down because he's been up the last 2 years. But considering the situation, I'm gonna go with Aaron Rodgers. I mean, I have no faith in none of those receivers right now. You're seeing reports talking about him calling out the young receivers already. Obviously, they have a really good defense, so it's still gonna be a good team. I think they're a wild card team. I think the Vikings actually do win that division that we were just talking about. But I do think you see a downtick with Aaron Rodgers this year because he's shown in the past, outside of Devontae Adams, he doesn't really trust anybody else. But now he's gonna have to be forced to, right? And I mean, who's the number one there? Is it Lazard? Is it Christian Watson? Is it Sammy Watkins? I mean, it's kind of ugly there, man. So I think you're gonna see the former two-time MVP the last 2 years take a pretty fall down. Not like he's gonna just fall off the face of the earth and be like not a top 10 quarterback anymore, but I do think he falls down quite significantly this year.
Well, that's great because I had a plan B because I had a feeling my man Mark, a great mind of his own. I knew he was going to say Aaron Rodgers. My boy knows his stuff. So my plan B is definitely Mac Jones. Okay. I think Mac Jones is going to take a little sophomore skid this year because they don't even know who their play caller is going to be. The next game that they're in, they got Joe Judge and Matt Patricia, somebody that's a defensive specialist, calling the plays. Yeah, so I can't trust who he got calling the play from. And I don't really trust their weapons. Like they don't have nobody that really stands out to me for Mac Jones. I feel like this is going to be a sophomore little skid for him.
And this was a tough one. I ain't gonna lie. When I came up with this topic, I don't know what I was thinking, man, because this is a tough one for me. But I'm gonna go with AJ Brown, man. And this is not hate. Like when I first thought about it,
being a homer, man.
No. And that's what people. When I ran this by somebody, I actually had this conversation with some other people, man. They was like, "Man, you just doing that because you salty because he left." I'm like, "No, this has nothing to do with it. I think he's a great top 10 talent, but the best ability is availability." Mm-hmm. And people be like, "Man, you just say you ain't never talked about his injuries." No, I defended his injuries when he was a Tennessee Titan. I ain't a Titan no more, so I ain't defending them injuries no more.
The day is over.
Right, like bad quads, bad hamstrings, bad lower back, bad knee. Like I think last year in the offseason he had micro fracture surgery on like his to clean up some debris in his knees because he played with some injuries in his knees. The year prior to that, he had ankle surgeries in college, and then I think he had another one to clean up some stuff last year. So it's some like those are nagging injuries, and we've seen guys like Julio Jones have great seasons, Hall of Fame career, right? And the nagging injuries, no major injury, but the nagging stuff has kind of curtailed his prime. And he ain't an old dude. I think Julio's like what 32, 33. He might. I think he turns 33 this year, something like that. Like so, he's not an old dude. AJ Brown is 26 years old, and once guys hit that back end, that back four, you know what I'm saying? They start that's the second half. You enter your prime, and you can either extend your prime. You can either be Jared Rice or you can be Julio Jones. You know what I'm saying? Like you can, which ain't bad company, but you can either have a super long prime or a super short one. And to me, AJ Brown's trending more in the direction of that super short prime where he might have 2 or 3 more years where he's a 1,000-yard guy. And he's never been that 1,200, 1,300 yard a year guy. He's always been hovering between right at 1,000 yards or right above, right up under 1,100. He kind of, teases at 1,100. So to me, with a quarterback, and I know I was high on Jalen Hurts coming out of Oklahoma, but I just had my questions about him. I don't know if he can win with his arm yet. That's just me. You know what I'm saying? But with a quarterback like that, and then Devontae Smith, who to me is an electrifying receiver. I think he's an amazing receiver. AJ Brown ain't never really played with nobody that's eating up carries or eating up targets from him. You know what I'm saying? Like in Tennessee, Corey Davis wasn't eating up them targets like that. Jonnu Smith wasn't eating up targets like that. But now you got Devontae Smith who's going to get open, and he's going to eat up targets. So I just think he has a downtick in his production. Last year, I think he was right at 900. Like he was like right up under 900 or right at 900 and some plus yards last year. I think this year he has a little bit of a downtick. If he can stay healthy, he might prove me wrong, but that's just depending. But that's my down tick guy. Y'all got anybody else that y'all think is a sleeper to have an up or down year that's kind of in that middle purgatory area?
I'm gonna give one for my Kansas City Chiefs since Young went with his Niner guy, and I'm gonna go receiver Juju Smith-Schuster. A lot of people are down on him. You know, they talk about his TikToks and all the other stuff off the field. Obviously, the last couple of years, he got hurt last year. In the last 2 or 3 years, he's been playing with a guy that can't throw the ball. Big Ben has been washed the last 3 years. Now he's in a contract, prove it year, 1 year contract. He's looking good. I know he had a little knick-knack injury at camp, but he's fine. He'll be ready to go week 1. Him and Mahomes have been building a rapport in the offseason. He actually went down to Texas, where Mahomes is from, to get some extra work in before mini camp. So, and they've been having this chemistry. Like, it looks like they've been playing with each other for years. You wouldn't think it's their first time playing with each other. I think he's going to be that guy that moves the chains on those third and intermediate down, 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5, in the middle of the field. And he's very underrated as far as his down the field as well. He's a big body guy. He can shield off defenders. So I think he's going to have a really big year.
I'm going to go with my guy. I've always been a huge fan of him since his sophomore year at Stanford. I'm going with Christian McCaffrey. Okay. I feel like he's due for a good year. He's been hurt the last few years, and I know everybody's been talking about his health more than everything. And I feel like this is going to be the year where he's going to be very healthy, and he's going to help the Panthers win some games. I don't know if the Panthers are going to make the playoffs, but I feel like with him on the field, he makes the Panthers very competitive. And I feel like we're going to have a regular Christian McCaffrey year that we're used to seeing and accustomed to.
And he got to stay out them scrums, man. He getting knocked down out there trying to fight with them big boys. I'm going to go with a guy who's very, who Mark knows very well, and who's a guy who I think is going to wow a lot of people, and that's Mecole Hardman. I know he went down, I think, with a minor little knick-knack, nick in practice the other day, but I don't think that's a problem. I think people are really sleeping on that Kansas City Chiefs receiving core, really sleeping on them. And it's crazy to think that a guy in Mecole Hardman has been on that roster and outproduced one of the top 3 guys that was on the roster in front of him. Like, when you're talking about a guy who was the 4th on the depth chart, but he was the 3rd best receiver on your team. That's with Robinson on the team. That's with who's your other guy? Tyreek Hill on the team. That's with
Pringle
and all those guys that get all the love, right? That got all the love and admiration. But Mecole Hardman just kept his head down and was like, I'm just gonna go out here and show you that not only am I fast, but I'm talented. I can run routes. I can make plays happen. I can be a punt returner and a kick returner. I can affect the game in all 3 phases. So shout out to him, man. I hope he does well. I hope he plays well. I think he's on the uptick. And even if not, man, even if he gives you what he gave you the last 2-3 years that he's been in the league, I think he finds a home somewhere else and shows that he can be that 1,000-yard plus guy that we all think I think he can be. Because I ain't gonna lie, people were scared of Tyreek Hill. Like, when we played here in Tennessee, I said, no, number 17, watch out for that dude, because it ain't number 10 that I'm worried about. We know who number 10 is.
He got
number 17. Yeah, I'm like, number 17, come out the slot, take 2 steps back and catch the ball, and he's 0 to 60. Mm-hmm. Like, you know what I'm saying? He's in the end zone by the time you blink your eyes. So it's scary to think that now you still have that. You still got Valdez-Scantling there. That's speed. You got Travis Kelce at the tight end position. That's speed. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got all these guys there. You got Sky Moore, who's a long, lanky guy, even though he's listed, I think, like 5'11". He's a long, lanky guy who can run. That you can't sleep on that team, man. It's crazy. But Speaking of guys on the uptick, teams on the uptick and receiving units and all these things, man, you know what we gotta do. Y'all ain't new to this, man. Y'all true to this, man. Top fives, man. Top fives, man. We gotta do it. I had to do it. You know what I'm saying? Y'all ain't new to this, man. Y'all know what Sports After Dark how I get. But we gonna go, man. We go through 3 top fives, man. Hope y'all did your homework, bro. So we're gonna start with offensive units, man. Who are y'all top 5 offensive units coming into the year?
Are we doing this in order? Or you just
no? It don't have to be any particular order. I'm gonna let y'all pick who y'all want to go first, and then I'll drop mine after.
What you want? You want to go first, Mark?
I'll go first. So I got it in order actually. It's tough, man, because there's so many great offenses in the league. It's hard to leave a couple of these out. But at number 1, hey man, it's not a homer pick. Kansas City Chiefs, bro. And I didn't have them at 1 initially, but after I'm thinking about it, the Chiefs have never had this many reliable pass catching options. Obviously, Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce is top loaded, right? But outside of those 2 guys, we didn't really have anybody else that we could rely on. Now we have 5 guys that I feel comfortable in. MVS, who's one of the best deep ball threats in the league. McCole Hardman, obviously. Sky Moore, who I'm really, really high on, is looking really good in camp and preseason. And then obviously Juju Smith and then Travis Kelce. And then not to mention we have a top 5 offensive line. You have the best quarterback in the game, in my opinion, in Patrick Mahomes, and the best offensive play caller in Andy Reid. So I don't see why this cannot be the best offense in the league this year.
Number 2, Eric Bieniemy still there, right?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I was hoping we got him, but he stayed home.
That's crazy.
And number 2, I got the Chargers. As you guys know, I'm really high on Justin Herbert. This is going to be his, 3rd year, 2nd year in this system. And you still got Keenan Allen. You got Mike Williams. You got Austin Eckler, who is just one of the best pass-catching backs in the league and also can run the ball as well. They have a really good offensive line with Slater holding it down at left tackle. So I just think they're going to just continue to get better and better, man, every single year. As long as you got Herbert there, they're going to be a top 5 offense. And number 3, I know their offensive line's having some injuries, but I just cannot leave off Tampa Bay Buccaneers, man. I cannot count out Tom Brady with those weapons. You still got Godwin, Mike Evans. I mean, they got Gage, and Julio Jones may be their 4th option. I mean, I'm not even that high on Julio at this point in his career. But if he's your 4th option, that's a pretty good damn 4th option.
Yeah.
So Tom Brady gets the ball out quick. We know that. So I think the offensive line obviously is an issue, but if anybody can combat it, I think it's Tom Brady with his mind and how he gets the ball out so quickly. And number 4, I got the Bengals. I mean, you have the best trio of receiver in the league with Chase, Higgins, and Boyd. They fixed their offensive line, at least on paper. We'll have to see on the field. And then you still got Joe Mixon and obviously Joe Burrow. So, I mean, I love that young core. I think they're going to continue to get better. And at 5, this may be a surprise to you guys, but I got the Minnesota Vikings at number 5.
That's not even a surprise to me, bro.
Okay.
Wow.
I love them with Kevin O'Connell there as the new head coach. He's under that Sean McVay coaching tree. And we know how they can scheme up things. And we saw Justin Jefferson talk about how he's watching Cooper Kupp film. He's like, how is this guy always open? And now he's like, I'm going to be running these same type of routes. And he's going to be like, he's excited. So you got Justin Jefferson. You still got Thielen. You got Dalvin Cook, who you're really high on, obviously, Courtland. And I know Kirk Cousins, people were iffy on him, but he's still at the very worst. He's still a top 12 quarterback in the league at worst. So I think they're going to be very, very explosive with that new system with Kevin O'Connell coming from the Sean McVay coaching tree.
Oh, yeah. You left a particular team off of there, but I'm going to wait till mine. Go ahead, Young Heavy.
I mean, it's top 5, bro. Like he said, like you could put a lot of offenses up there, man. So I wasn't even mad. So I'll go with number 1. I got to put the Los Angeles Rams, man. You know, Cooper Kupp coming off the year that he had. I don't think he's going to repeat that, but he's still going to have a great year. And they added Allen Robinson. A lot of people was down on Allen Robinson because he's been hurt, and he was in Chicago with not a lot of good quarterbacks. You put him with Matthew Stafford, he's going to be a red zone animal for them. So I feel like they're going to be really good. 2, I got the Vikings up there. So that's why I wasn't surprised at his pick. You got, like you said, you got Dalvin Cook, you got Justin Jefferson, you got Thielen that's long in the tooth, but Kevin O'Connell, he's going to be way better in the air attack than Stefanski was. Stefanski is all about running the ball. Kevin O'Connell, like Mark said, is a part of that Sean McVay trade. So he's about trying to spread the ball out, air it out. That's the type of thing he want to do. 3, I have the Chargers. Mark said a lot about who their weapons are. I feel like Justin Herbert, it's his 3rd year in the league. I feel like this is a year where Justin Herbert, we threw for 5,000 yards last year. So he probably going to either throw for that many yards or more because how the game is slowing down more and more for him in his 3rd year in the league. The 4th team I have, now I got to go with us, man. I feel like this is the first time that you'll see an explosive offense from us. This is the first year you're going to see this because we have a quarterback now that you have to defend 11 on 11. It ain't no more you just are. We just worrying about Jimmy handing the ball off, and we got to worry about everybody else. We got a quarterback that can hurt you with his legs too, and he can stretch the field. We never had a quarterback that could stretch the field. With the weapons that we have, I feel like the middle of the field is going to be more open for George Kittle because now we have a speedster in Danny Gray. He's been killing it in training camp. So now we have a receiver with a 4.34 speed that can take the top off of the defense in the middle of the field to be open for our Deebo Samuels and the George Kittle. And watch out, we running some triple option with Deebo in the backfield. So Kyle, he doing some things over there. He cooking some things up. And at number 5, I'm with my man Mark, man, the Kansas City Chiefs. I feel like you can't ignore them out because Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. And like he said, you can't just key on Tyreek Hill and just Travis Kelce. They can spread the ball out now. And now you got to worry about a lot of people. Sky Moore, I've been telling Mark from the beginning, I love that pick. I wish we would have drafted Sky Moore. To me, I feel like he's going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. He's my sleeper for Offensive Rookie of the Year. And I feel like that the Kansas City Chiefs, they're going to do some things that a lot of people think. Tua can talk about that. Tua is more accurate than Mahomes. He's just saying that because that's his quarterback. I get it. That's who you with now, but you know what the deal is.
Hey, man. Hey, I knew it was the reason why I wanted y'all fellas on the show, man. I knew why. But I'm gonna go ahead and drop mine right here, man. I'm not gonna say mine. I'm just gonna drop this good old graphic right here. Man, I just we're gonna talk about this, man. So y'all left a particular team, and I know y'all see them. You know what I'm saying? That good little AFC team right there, the Buffalo Bills, man. Like what are we talking about? Like Josh Allen is probably the 2nd best quarterback in the league right now. Like honestly, I think he cements himself with Stephon Diggs and them boys up there. They got a running back finally. You know what I'm saying? Like they made some changes to their offense to where they're going to be I think they're going to be really solid. And like I said, like when you have a quarterback in Josh Allen who can really do it all, run the ball, throw the ball, he's making better decisions. The arm strength is there. I don't think you can really argue with that. I gotta throw the Raiders up there, man. You gotta finally for the Raiders for the first time in a long time, they have a 1A, 1B option. Hunter Renfrow and Devontae Adams, and then on top of that, you throw Darren Waller out there, and then Josh Jacobs if he can be healthy. They got a plethora of running backs in that backfield, and I think Derek Carr solidified himself as, in my opinion, a top 10 quarterback. Of course, Matthew Stafford and the Rams. The Chiefs, you can't argue with those two guys, man. Andy Reid and Sean McVay may be two of the top. They may be the top 2 play callers in the NFL, and that's not a knock against Kyle Shanahan. I just think when you talk about those 2 guys who came from I think Sean McVay came from the Shanahan tree, and Andy Reid is just an offensive genius. He might be one of the greatest offensive minds to ever touch a football field. You can't argue with those 2. They're always going to be at the top. And then the Bengals, man, like y'all said, I think y'all talked about it. That trio of offensive talent that they have, and T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, and Jamar Chase, and then on top of that, you throw in Joe Mixon, and then whoever the tight end is, you ain't even got to really care about it. CJ Uzomah was there last year, but that guy's going to be open because you got 3 guys on the outside that can stretch the field and is going to make safeties have to play on their heels the whole game, and so that tight end can kind of work against whoever the linebackers are. It gets ugly. It's going to get ugly really fast. You know what I'm saying? When you go into that Cincinnati Bengals offense, and you have to go up against that and match up against that. I have no particular order. I ain't going to put them in any particular order because, again, these offenses are so electric. I just don't think I could leave the Bills off that top 5, man. Josh Allen, to me, is just that dude. He exudes that moxie of, like, I'm that dude. Like, even though he pranked his fans with the red helmet, it was the fact that when he walked out, the fans looked like, the fans was like, that's our guy. And the Bills ain't had that in a long time. They ain't had a dude that they can really just say, like, that's our dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have faith in that guy. And with Stephon Diggs, as soon as Stephon Diggs got there, he elevated this game to a whole different level. And I think that offense is going to finally – I think they're overall the best team in the league right now when we talk about both sides of the ball. But, yeah, man, I just think that offense is going to be something crucial when we go into the season. But we got to talk about, man – we had this argument, me and Young Heavy kind of almost got into it, you know what I'm saying, last night about it. Man, front sevens, man. We got to talk about these front sevens, bro. Top 5 front sevens in the NFL, man. Who want to start it off?
I'll let you go first, yo.
Well, I don't got them in order, but of course I'm putting us number 1 for sure. I mean, honestly, I feel like we have the best middle linebacker in the league. I feel like we have the best linebacker core in the league. I feel like people sleep on Dre Greenlaw and Aziz Shire. I feel like they get slept on a lot. I feel like we have complementary between them three. All can cover, all can rush the quarterback. All of them are great tackles, and we just got our leader in the middle. Our front seven, our defensive line. I ain't got to say too much about Nick Bosa. I feel like this is a year where he probably will win Defensive Player of the Year. I wouldn't be surprised at it. We had a scrimmage today with the Vikings. He had 7 sacks in that practice today.
Crazy.
Yeah, so I feel like Nick Bosa, and we got to pay him next year. So I feel like Nick Bosa is going to make sure he break the bank. We break the bank on him. We got Art Armstead. Javon Kinlaw looks amazing in camp.
That dude right there is serious.
Yeah.
I think was he injured last year?
Yeah, his knee.
But before he went down, even as a rookie dude, he was out there killing it.
He was balling for us. He got the surgery he needed in, the off season, and now he's ready to play ball now. And one thing I'll try to tell people, our defensive line depth, our rotation, we come at you in waves. It ain't just 4 people. We got at least 4 to 8 defensive linemen coming in at a time, and they all can get to the quarterback. Samson Ebukam, he was a rotational player last year and had 5 sacks. You know what I mean? So it's like we just come at you in waves. Number 2, I got to put y'all there. I'm not going to disrespect the Titans. Autry, Simmons, Landry. Oh, yeah, I give you credit where it's due. Listen, man, y'all had 3 people with 8 sacks or more. That's impressive, man. You can't ignore that at all. Number 3, I got to go with the Rams. You got Aaron Donald and you got Leonard Floyd, what more can you say about that? You got Bobby Wagner now, a potential Hall of Famer at the linebacker position. So, you have to count them as well. 4, this is where I got a little stuck at. I'm going to say the Los Angeles Chargers. I feel like Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack. I feel like Khalil Mack is going to have a resurgence in his career this year because due to the fact of him having Joey Bosa on the other side. He's a little long in the tooth as well, but it's always better when you got an elite pass rusher on the other side of you.
For sure.
And number 5, I'm going to honestly say the Philadelphia Eagles. I feel like their front 7
that's different.
It's going to be crazy. They made a lot of moves in the offseason with Hassan Reddick. They drafted Nakobe Dean, Jordan Davis. They still got who is it?
Barnett.
Who got hurt for them last year? Brandon Graham.
No, Barnett ain't still. No, Barnett.
I think Barnett is still there. Brandon Graham is coming back this year. I just feel like they're going to be definitely crazy on the defensive side of the ball. So there's my 7.
Yeah, it's crazy that Nakobe Dean is out there playing. I didn't think he was going to play with that shoulder, but the fact that he out there playing is crazy.
He's a monster, dude.
And he making plays too. It ain't like he was just out there like, nah, bro, this dude is really still laying the hat and everything. Like, he's still shedding blocks. Like, the shoulder ain't bothering him. So I don't know. Maybe he might be the steal of the draft, bro.
Yeah. So I don't got mine in order. I just got my 5 for you. Obviously, I got the Niners up there. Yeah, I got the Niners in there. They're undeniable. Fred Warner, obviously, Bosa, all the depth that Young talked about, a lot better than I can. So they're definitely a top 5 unit. Your Titans are up there too, man. I gave you crap last night about saying Jeffrey Simmons is better than Chris Jones, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
But he's still really good, obviously. You guys have a lot of depth, like Young alluded to. You had 3 different guys that had 8 or more sacks, so you can't deny that, obviously. The Rams, how can you not have the Rams up there? Aaron Donald by himself. is worthy to be top 5 just alone.
For sure,
and then you got Bobby Wagner. You still got Floyd, who people were really underrated. He had 9 sacks, I believe, last year. So you got to put the Rams up there. I got a lot of the same teams, man. Honestly, the Chargers, they're up there as well. You got Bosa, and then you bring in Khalil Mack. That's going to be something to reckon with. My 5th one's a little different. I'm actually going with the Cleveland Browns, man. I think Myles Garrett, Clowney. I know people like talk about Clowney, but he actually is still a really good player. He just didn't live up to the hype that people want him to do. But he's still really impactful. So you got Clowney, you got Garrett, and I'm really high on JOK, the linebacking core. I think he's going to break out year this year out of Notre Dame. He's only 22 years old, so I think it's only his second year. I think he's going to make a big jump this year.
I forgot they even drafted that dude, man.
They
forgot about him.
Yeah, don't sleep on the Browns front 7.
Yeah, their front 7 is definitely really good, Mark, for sure.
I'm sleeping on them. I took an Ambien on them. I'm gonna drop this graphic again, man, with mine. Ain't no particular order, but y'all gonna see 2 teams that y'all didn't name. Of course, them top 3 teams you can't even argue with, man.
The Colts, yeah.
The 49ers you can't argue with, boy. That Nick Bosa that's a different beast right there. That's a different animal. Aaron Donald. Here's a fun fact about Aaron Donald. Triple team the most. He faces the most triple teams and the most double teams in the league. It's head above heels. You know who beats the most double teams and beats the most triple teams in the league? Aaron Donald. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy. Like, he's ridiculous. And with that dude, anybody you put, it's almost like the Deion Sanders effect. It's like, who's the best cornerback duo in the league? Deion Sanders and whoever else is next to him. Who's the best defensive line? It's Aaron Donald, whoever's next to him. Like, it's crazy. So I think that dude is ridiculous. And then, of course, you stick Bobby Wagner behind him. That's ridiculous. Of course, I got to put my Tennessee Titans up there. I got to be a homer. I do feel like Aaron.
That's not being a homer. That's not being a homer.
I do feel like Jeffrey Simmons is the second best defensive tackle in the league when we talk about defensive tackles, not just interior defensive linemen, but just what he does. I think it's him and Aaron Donald and it's everybody else. But that's just me. You know what I'm saying? I love my guy. But then I got to give love to the Indianapolis Colts, bro. It's crazy, man. When we talk about them dudes, it's crazy what they can do. When you talk about Kwity Paye, you talk about adding
Ngakoue,
DeForest Buckner, then Ngakoue, then you got them linebackers who can just flat out run with speed and those guys. And then with Darius Leonard, I don't know which one to call him. I don't know what I got to get him on the show so I can ask him which one he goes
now.
by.
He said call him Shaq now, man.
Yeah, Shaq. Well, hey, so Shaq. Sorry about that, Shaq. But Shaq Leonard, man, whenever he comes back, that team is ridiculous. That front 7 is formidable. And then of course you can't deny what Todd Bowles and those guys have done with that Buccaneers front 7. Those guys are ridiculous. Devontae David, my man's from LSU. Can't never remember his name. Number 45. Devin White. He's nice. The big number 77 that they got in the middle of that. Vita Vea.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with their team, so I'll be trying to like catch up with the names and stuff. But Shaq and those guys, man, that front 7 is ridiculous. And then of course you add my man who was I think he was his second year last year. You add him out there too. Like that team is ridiculous. And Todd Bowles has always had a very disciplined, very gap heavy coverage when it comes to run and fill your gaps and also get after the quarterback. He does them both well. So that front 7 is always scary to me. And we're hosting them here in Tennessee, so we get to actually see what our offensive line looks like against that front 7 and vice versa. So, but the Bucs are that team. But man, speaking of well-coached squads, no team is as good without their head coach. Man, you are who your head coach is most times, and we got to talk about the top 5 head coaches, man. So we can all go, we can do this sports after dark style, you know what I'm saying? Everybody get a 5th or everybody get one cool from their list or however. I don't care.
You want to rock that way, Mark? 5 through 1?
We can do it that way. Yeah, we can do it that way.
Okay.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, it don't matter.
Number 5, I'm going to go with Mike Tomlin. I feel like when you never have a losing season, You got to commend that. You know what I mean? I believe he's the only coach in the NFL without a losing season at all. So
Man,
I
he
feel
been
like
scraping by.
you
He been
got to give
scraping
him
by
his
like this
flowers
year.
for that. You know, that's very hard to do, regardless if you don't make the playoffs. To still have a winning percentage at the end of the year, that's definitely impressive, and that cannot be ignored.
Definitely as a head coach, that's tough.
Yeah, I got Mike Tomlin at 5 as well. I mean, I don't got much to add to what you already said, but I got Mike Tomlin at 5.
Dang, y'all gonna make me change mine. No, I'm not. Mike Tomlin at 5 for me. Mike Tomlin at 5 for me. Like y'all said, man, to never have a losing season. Definitely with the adversity that he's faced as a head coach, and also doing it as a African American head coach. I think people don't really talk about it that much, but he followed behind Bill Cowher, and you had Dick LeBeau and that those guys. Even though Dick LeBeau wasn't a head coach, that team has always kind of been. They haven't had a black head coach in a long time, and then like this guy comes in and he's been there and just done it and consistently done it, just over and over and over again. Big Ben missing time, then Big Ben retiring. You don't know who your quarterback gonna be, and then having Mason Rudolph as your quarterback, and then Joshua Dobbs as your quarterback, and still pumping out a winning season. That's to be commended. I think that dude, you can't hands down, you can't deny that dude. We can move on to number 4 though.
Number 4, you see the hat, so I got to go with Kyle Shanahan.
Okay,
I feel like you can everybody can say if he's the best play caller or Andy Reid is McVay. You can't go wrong with none of them. But I feel like he's very innovative with what he can do. He always he puts his players in the best position to succeed, whether it be from the quarterback on down. The way he designs plays, man, is just ridiculous. He'll show you the same formation, 21 personnel, and he'll run the same play, and then he'll hit you in the same formation, but come back with another play that's going to catch that weakness that he saw in the first quarter, in the fourth quarter. And you're going to be looking like, well, what the hell? I didn't even know he was going to bring that. And a lot of the coaches that he helped get jobs, Mike McDaniel, Sean McVay, Matt LaFleur, Zach Taylor, they all are people that was running up under him. So I feel like he don't get the credit he deserves because he has a losing record as a head coach. But I feel like you can't ignore how awesome he is as a play caller.
Man, I hate this. I'm agreeing with Young again. I got Kyle Shanahan number 4 as well. I mean, I think he's so innovative. Like you said, all the guys that he has under him that have jobs now, I think he's just a genius. I really do. I mean, the way he schemes up stuff, he gets guys open. I mean, for him to go that far all them years with Jimmy G just says a lot right there. I mean, he was a bottom 10 quarterback in the league, and for him to go to the Super Bowl, go to the NFC Championship game with him at quarterback, I mean, I think that's really remarkable.
Yeah, Mike said Kyle got a nice little coaching staff now. Coaching tree now. He do.
Sure. Anthony Lynn, man, D'Amico Ryans,
like his dad, man. It's crazy that Shanahan name. It's something about it. I'm gonna keep it in the AFC North here, guys. I gotta go with John Harbaugh. I think he's another dude who's just. I think he's another dude who just oozes that consistency. No matter
Ravens fans won't like this.
They're not gonna like this at all.
It ain't about what they like; it's about what the truth is. But saying the guy's top 5, but saying the guy's top 5, I don't think it's disrespectful. Saying he's number 4 in the top 5, I don't think that's disrespectful. I just think that dude oozes consistency. He oozes what you want out of a head coach. This guy went from being a special teams coordinator to being a head coach, and they never skipped a beat. Like, people was wondering, like, how do you take a guy who's a special teams coordinator and he's never been an offensive coordinator, never been a defensive coordinator, and he didn't do anything but take his team from worse to like one of the like, mediocre, like middle of the pack teams for a minute to winning the Super Bowl and consistently being there over and over and over again. Like, even last year, people was like, if it weren't for the injuries, they're a Super Bowl contender. That's because of John Harbaugh and what he brings to that squad. I hate him, but I love him at the same time.
Yeah, I'm about to say, y'all really don't like the Ravens, man.
Yeah, can't stand them, but got to respect them.
Yeah, I respect that.
So we're going to move on to number 3, and boy, y'all finna hate me for this number 3.
I mean, I feel like everybody's 3 is the same. It's just how you order them. Well, I don't know. You got Harbaugh at 4, so I don't know. But I feel like me and Mark 3 are probably the same. 3, I got Sean McVay. I feel like, we play him twice a year. and he's very innovative the way he's able to get people open and how he passes the ball. He made Jared Goff. He had Jared Goff though for his highest career numbers, 4,600 yards and over 30 TDs. And you see when Jared Goff went to the Lions, it changed. And you see when Matthew Stafford came over to the Rams, they go win the Super Bowl. So I feel like that's why I give Sean McVay my third option in my top 5.
Once again, me and Young agree.
Wow.
I have Sean McVay number 3. I mean, just to piggyback on what Young said, you know, he just has that cool factor to him as well. Like the players really rally around him, right? He fits the LA Rams. You know, he's that face. He's the cool guy. He's running up and down the sideline, giving guys high fives, showing emotion. He's just cool, right? Like the players love him, and obviously the play call and all that stuff, we already know about that. So yeah, I got Sean McVay at 3. I want to hear your 3 now, though, because you said we're gonna hate you.
Yeah, so. You are. I gotta keep it, man. I'm gonna bring it on down here to Nashville, man. I gotta give my guy Mike Vrabel his due.
Oh hell no!
So and I'm gonna tell you why. You're leaving off Sean McVay, I'm assuming. Then that's crazy.
Yeah, I got Sean McVay. I left Sean McVay off the list. I actually got Sean McVay as 7. I got Sean McVay at 7. And I had Kyle Shanahan at 6, and that's just me, guys. And that's not a knock on him. I don't feel like when you talk about guys in top 10 top 10 situations, it's disrespectful to leave a guy. Somebody's always gonna, because it just depends on your preference. But to me, with Mike Vrabel, seeing what when we first hired him, people were like, I can't believe they hired him. He was underqualified. He was trash as a defensive coordinator with the Texans, and then you bring him here and we're going to be horrible. Like, he's never going to work. He's not going to work out. The man has done nothing but come in and win a season, AFC Championship game trip, like winning season. Like, you know, he won a playoff. He made a playoff run. Hasn't won a playoff game since. But I think when you look at what he's had to deal with this team last year, I think he really showed what his culture has instilled in Nashville. And that's something that I can say we haven't had since Jeff Fisher and them guys left in the early 2000s. We haven't had a culture here in Nashville. It's always been get the talent that you can get, scrape it off the bottom of the barrel and make it work. This guy has come in and said, hey, we ain't doing that no more. It's cream of the crop. We're going to make this a team that guys want to come play for. We're going to make this a locker room that guys want to come to, a facility that guys want to come to, and we're going to build a winning product, not just put a team out there because it's an NFL franchise and the NFL needs a team to go out there and be fodder. No, we're going to go out there and we're going to play hard. Last year, 91 different players, man. 91 different players suited up for the Tennessee Titans. We still managed the number 1 overall seed. Whether we was the worst number 1 overall seed, the most mediocre number 1 overall seed or whatever ever in history, it don't matter. The fact that he was able to accomplish that, win Coach of the Year, and do it within the fashion that he did it. He didn't bat an eye. He never got up there on the podium and said, I don't know if my guys can be able to do it. He just got up there and said, hey, it's on to the next. And that's a product of the guy that I got at number 1. But we're going to talk about that after we get to these number 2.
All right, so we on number 2?
Yeah.
Got to go with the big red, man, Andy Reid. You know, I ain't going to say too much because that's my man Mark, head coach. You know, so I'm going to let Mark do his thing on that one. But, I mean, he's the quarterback whisperer. Saved Michael Vick's career. Michael Vick had his best passing career ever when he got to Andy Reid, and that's all I'm gonna say on that.
Well, I have Belichick at number 2 actually.
Oh, well, I mean,
I have my reasons why when I get to number 1, but you know, I mean, I think Belichick's the GOAT, obviously the greatest coach of all time. But you know, defensive mastermind, obviously he does the most with the less, you can say. I mean, he gets guys off the street and they just produce somehow in that system. It's crazy. So Belichick number 2, but I'll tell you why number 1 is number 1 when it gets there.
I'm gonna go like this. I guess it's switched. To me, it's Andy Reid. It's number 2, man. When you look at what he's done, he's been a model of consistency since he's been with the Chiefs. He left the Eagles and went to the Kansas City Chiefs, and it's been nothing but winning since he's been there. Nothing but winning. It ain't too many guys that you could say goes from a team with the Eagles, and they're saying he may be the greatest Eagles coach ever to play, like ever to coach for the Eagles. 4 NFC Championship games, a trip to the Super Bowl, and then he comes to the AFC and goes to the Chiefs and it's been what AFC Championship game, Super Bowl. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's just done it over and over again. I think they've won an average of the last 6 or 7 seasons he's been there, or 7 or 8 seasons I think he's been there. They've won like on average I think 10 games like a year. Like they haven't hit below 10 games since he's been there. That's crazy. That's a crazy run. I think Andy Reid is going to go down, if not one of the top 5 ever to do it. He's definitely going to be in the argument for top 10 to ever do it. The dude has just been phenomenal his entire career. And no matter what he's had to go through with Donovan McNabb and Terrell Owens situation, he's always managed to pump out a winning product.
Yes, we had number 1. So, I mean, my number 1 is like, you got to respect it. And Bill Belichick, I feel like he's one of the best. I think he's the best defensive-minded coach we've probably ever seen. He's the one coach that can really take your best player away from you and put you in a position where you're paralyzed on offense and just dominate the game. You've seen him do it to many of offenses. You've seen him do it to one of the greatest quarterbacks we've ever seen, Peyton Manning. I think Peyton Manning really hate playing him more than anybody else. Because I think Peyton Manning had a lot of his terrible games against Bill Belichick. And you just got to be able to give credit to where it's due. Like I said, the six Super Bowl rings. Defense is always top 10 darn near every year. You know what I mean? So I just got to give my credit to, the greatest coach of all time.
So here's why I put Andy Reid over Belichick right now. Obviously, I think Belichick's the GOAT. We're talking about like all-time accomplishments. We're talking about right now in 2022. This is an offensive league now. So I'm going to go with the greatest offensive mind in today's league over the greatest defensive mind when the game is tailored more towards offense. So that's why I say Andy Reid as of right now. I mean, obviously, Courtlandt already hit on it. He hasn't had less than 10 wins since he's been in Kansas City. That's counting Alex Smith years. It hasn't just been Patrick Mahomes. So, and obviously the last 4 years, 4 straight AFC Championship appearances, 2 Super Bowl appearances, 1 win. So, I mean, when you talk about recent, what have you done for me lately? I think it has to be Andy Reid.
For sure. I gotta go with Bill Belichick here, man, as the top coach coming in. I don't care what you put in front of him. I know y'all probably ain't seen the TikTok videos where it'd be like prospect runs 4-3 and like the Patriots front office like a white guy back in groceries and is like, yep, you come here. Like you're gonna be a star, kid. Like that's Bill Belichick. Like that man can take I've never seen a guy take Danny Amendola and turn him into a Pro Bowl receiver. Takes Wes Welker when people thought he was, completely done. Turns him into a Pro Bowl, and borderline Hall of Fame wide receiver. People consider him to be in the Hall of Fame. I think it's crazy, but that's just what he does. Like he took Deion Branch. Deion Branch was a guy who was 5'9". People say he was undersized for this position and couldn't get it. He was only okay as a receiver. He goes and wins an MVP or a Super Bowl MVP. Like, this is a guy in Bill Belichick that just gets it done. He just finds a way to dig it out and get it done over and over and over again. And this year, I think it's more of the same. I think it's going to be more of the same. I think he's going to take that team and just find a way to get it done. I know people are questioning the Matt Patricia being the offensive coordinator, Matt Rule being Joe Judge. I'm sorry, Joe Judge being the offensive coordinator or offensive coordinator, whatever. To me, yeah, the offense may be bad. It may suck. It may take a step back on offense, but that defense, that's Bill Belichick. It's always going to be that. So, to me, that's the greatest coach right now. And even if non-legacy, I think you got to give him that number 1 spot until somebody takes it from him. And don't get it twisted. I think Andy Reid is nipping at his heels. I think Andy Reid, unless both of them dudes walk away from the game after this year, I think Belichick kind of probably takes that step down and has to hand that reign over to Andy Reid if he can get it done. You know what I'm saying, this year. So yeah, that's my 5, man. Tomlin, Harbaugh, Vrabel, Reid, Belichick. I don't think you can even argue. And I can't argue with Charles either, man. I can't argue with Kyle Shanahan. Like I said, I got Kyle Shanahan at 6. I just don't. I mean, that's just me. I love me some Kyle Shanahan. I love Mike Shanahan. I love what them dudes are able to do. And Kyle is just like his dad. I think Kyle is a little less strict than his dad, but
Yeah, he's definitely more cooler than his pop for
Yeah,
sure.
but he's what he's been able to do as a coordinator and then as a head coach and regardless of like what they do out there in 49er land, that dude is ridiculous too. He's nice too. But I gotta give my guy Vrabel some love. I'm always gonna ride with my guy. Gotta
I
give him
mean, I
some
ain't mad
respect.
at it. I ain't mad at it.
But man, that's been the halftime show, man. I appreciate you boys following through, man. For the show, man. This can't be the last time y'all had y'all on. But man, if y'all just let them know where to find y'all.
Yeah, just you can follow all my content on Twitter, Instagram at Mark A. Gunnels. So I post all my articles, videos, my takes, obviously Sports After Dark. So yeah.
You can find me on Twitter as well. As you can see, Young Heavy with 2 G's. Yeah, I'm one of the co-hosts of Sports After Dark. That's where I do a lot of my sports takes. I'm trying to get my own thing rolling, being a content creator for the 49ers. So, I'm trying to get that off the ground. So that's where you can find me at, for all my takes on all sports, just outside of just football as well.
Man, we gotta work on that Talk About It podcast, man. We gotta get you on there, Young Heavy.
Oh yeah.
We gotta get that off the
happen.
ground. We gotta get that off the ground, buddy. But man, as this is of course this is my baby, man. The halftime show with Courtlandt Griffin. You can find me at DC Griffin on Twitter. Find me in Sports After Dark. I'm always chopping it up with these fellas, man. Last night they had me hoarse up there.
Yeah, man, you was getting a little character about your Titans, man.
Hey, man, I was in rare form, bro. Like, I was in rare form. I was almost gonna tell them Texans fans like, you're done. I was gonna pull the Mark Gunnels, get him out of here.
Get him out of here.
Right.
He's done.
Get him out of here. He's done. Get him out of here. But man, yeah. But you can find me on the 3-point conversion as well. All of my articles are there. All of my articles are there. Also, you can find me on YouTube with my first and last name, as it's spelled here, Courtlandt Griffin, where you can find this episode and all the other episodes of the halftime show. But again, man, if you follow the hashtag on Twitter, I'm going to start the hashtag up, HT with WITCG. I'm going to start making clips and stuff and probably start a little bit more interactive stuff on Twitter as well to get people more activated. And also find me in the community, the Sports After Dark community, man. We always chopping it up in there. It's always a good time with my girl Ashley Baker, and then of course these two fellas here. You will get packed up. It is a packing session. We got extra duct tape and bubble wrap for everybody.
Yes, you will.
Ship
you off like FedEx for sure.
I'm telling you, and don't come in there don't come in there crazy. You better come in there correct. We ready for you. But man, yeah, man, this has been a great halftime show, man. This is probably one of my most fun outside of the one with my guy Mike Patton and Ashley. This is probably my favorite episode so far. Definitely getting, I wish I could have made it out to the NABJ to meet you fellas in person, but you know what I'm saying? We're gonna have to get out there next year and chop it up for sure. But this ain't gonna be the last time y'all gonna be on the show. But man, hey, catch it. If you weren't here live, catch it on YouTube. This show will be up there. I appreciate my guy Mark Gunnels, my guy Young Heavy, man. This has been the halftime show with your boy Courtlandt Griffin. We out. Peace.